Hi, welcome to the Watch and Whisper channel. This is G Butterfly, and today we're going to talk about Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 4, Episode 14. Well, the episode picks up, and you know I have my trusty note. It starts off with Martel getting dressed for his event. This is the actual wine tasting. What they had last week, I think, was just a little, like a little soft tasting when they had a room of nothing but women. But the actual wine tasting that he had been planning for with his manager, Melnika. Well, he had on an all-white outfit with a Coming to America white fur going across the front. Now, some people may like it, some people may not. Not really my style, but hey, Martel gonna do Martel. He was excited about his event, and it was filled with his family and friends. And he spoke to his Uncle Sam Holt. He and Melnika were talking, and she was saying how he did it. You know, he brought the event, the entire planning process for his wine. He got it to the point where he wanted it to be, which is an actual wine tasting. So again, I'm looking forward to his wine coming out. And when Melnika talks to him, there's something in her eyes when she talked to Martel. I don't know what it is, and it may come out later, but whenever Melnika talks to him or about him, you see that there's something in her eyes. And it could just be pride from a friend that has made it, or it could be something else. So we're gonna have to see. They showed the crowd, everybody's just kind of talking, and it was a lot of chatter that you really couldn't make out what anybody was saying. I say, but production being messy like they always is, you can hear Marceau clearly speak to some woman, and she speaks back to him. Now, they also made it very clear when Louis spoke to somebody, and he said, hey, it's good to see you. And she was like, yeah, it's good to see you again too. Now, they had only been there one night, so who was the lady who said, yeah, it's good to see you again, too? May not be anything, may be something. You know, he's frustrated, so he says. Melnika is pumping up Martel about his progress and is having a wine tasting at the mansion, and she's saying how he's come so far. Marceau actually says, let me get my ring out of my pocket. I say, Lord, there go messy production again, because that was just like a random, out of the blue scene that was thrown in there. But you can see that Maurice's face is like, oh shit, because the scene immediately cut over to Maurice's face, and you can see his face like, God dang it. And that was funny. To me, that was funny. I said, you know what, production is messy. Messy, messy. And it was time for Marceau to give a little speech. Not Marceau, I'm sorry, It was time for Martel to give a little speech to the group that was there gathered for his wine tasting. And he stood up there and he looked a little nervous, and he said that he was tipsy. He said that his wine has 13.5% alcohol. So I can assume that must be a lot for alcohol. But anyway, you could tell that he was very nervous. And he asked for his 4 friends to come up there with him, which was Chris Fletcher, Marceau, Maurice, and Louis. And I think he did that to just be in a comfort zone, because he could have been very nervous, because he was kind of just rambling, just saying a lot of nothing for the most part. And he was kind of rambling, but I think it was because he's not comfortable speaking in public. If you notice, every time they had an event in the past, Mel was always doing the speaking, and Marceau mentioned that in his confessional. He said maybe Martel was just uncomfortable because he did not have Mel there to speak on their behalf as a family and as a company. So now he has to do it for himself. So now all of the attention is on him. Everybody does not like to speak in public. Everybody does not always put the right words together to convey what they're actually trying to say. And I think that could have been Martel's case. And it didn't help that he was tipsy. Maybe he was tipsy because he was getting nervous that it was almost time for him to speak. Well, while he was speaking, the camera kept shooting over to his Uncle Sam's face. And Uncle Sam's face was looking like, this some bullshit. At least that's how his face was looking. Well, later in the scene, you were able to see why. So he asked his friends to come up, and he was talking about how successful they were, how he named the wine after his grandmother. But then he went on to kind of say how successful his friends were, and how if everybody can always spend their money buying all these other brands out there, he pretty much summed it up and just, in essence, was saying, why can't you spend your money with your own? I can understand that. So, let's see. Yeah, he pretty much said spend your money with black business. If you can spend your money buying all these other type wines, why not spend your money and invest in his black-owned company? Let's see. I was thinking that the theme for his party must have been like red and black, because all of the ladies looked like they had on red. I'm sorry, not red and black, red and white. All of the ladies seemed to have on red dresses. I saw one that had on some white. I said, okay, that must have been a theme because Big Lou had on a red jacket. Now the jacket actually looked nice on Louis. Alrighty, so his uncle was looking like he wanted to just shoot Martel when he was up there speaking. You could tell he was getting angered and worked up. Well, after Martel finished speaking, he went out on the patio, or the uncle went out on the patio first. I don't remember which one went first, but they both ended up out there together. And Martel, damn, I'm tearing all their names up. Martel asked the uncle, "Hey, uncle, what's going on?" And the words his uncle said to him were, "That's my mother. Is that all you had?" And I think he was referencing that only thing Martel said was that he named the wine after his grandmother. He didn't go into any other detail. He started focusing on his friends. And again, he could have been nervous and just maybe lost track of what he may have really wanted to say. But later on in the scene, he actually says what he plans to do, which is a good thing. Well, Martel got in his uncle's ear and was telling him, "Hey, this is national TV. Don't do that. Don't do that on national TV." And the uncle was like, "What?" And he got in his ear again and said, "This is national TV, don't do that." But I think Martel may have forgotten that they both had mics on, which was probably under their clothes, and picked up everything that they said. The uncle was like, "You know what? I'm not getting ready to be, I think he said, I'm not going to have any regrets. So we're good, we're good." And the uncle kept trying to walk away from Martel. Well, Martel kept trying to stop the uncle and block the uncle's way. And the uncle, you could tell he was upset. And he was saying, "Look, I said we're good. Let it go. Go." He kept pushing it back like, "Go. Go enjoy your event. Go enjoy your friends. Go do what you're doing. We're leaving." Because the uncle was there with a wife who also had on a red dress. So Martel kept trying to block the uncle's way. But did anybody notice when the uncle went in the door first, he kind of shut that door back on Martel? I don't know if anybody caught that, but I did. I rewind and watched that door, and I said, "Oh, he tried to push that door on Martel," because he was pissed. But anyway, for whatever reason, I don't know if Martel may have known what the uncle was getting ready to say, because he didn't really say much before Martel was like, "No, don't do that. This is national TV. Don't do that." I'm like, okay, it's something that he probably wanted to say. He just didn't have an opportunity to say it. Let's see. Now, Martel had the nerve to ask his uncle, "Where is the respect? Where is the respect?" Martel's uncle was trying to leave, and he kept following him, kept following him. They ended up looking like they were outside or somewhere because it was really dark. And they were still going at it, kind of fussing and cussing. Martel told the camera person, "Don't come in here. Don't follow us." So he probably knew maybe it was going to get a little heated, and he maybe didn't want the whole world to hear what they had to say. So Chris kind of speaks to Marceau and Maurice and say, "Hey, did y'all know," and Louis, "Hey, did y'all notice that Martel's uncle left kind of upset?" And they were like, "Really?" They were just kind of shocked, because I guess a lot is going on in the party, so you're not focused on one particular thing. And Chris Fletcher was like, "Yeah." So Chris felt like maybe Martel should have said a little bit more about the grandmother. Maurice was like, "Hey, this is his first time. Give him some room and some grace. This is all new for him." So they all kind of took different positions on what happened, but they all agreed that the uncle was upset, and maybe they can work it out. Let's see. In my opinion, I felt like the uncle felt like the mother wasn't honored at that moment. I feel like the grandmother is getting ready to be eternally honored, because he's going to have wine named after her. So that's just my opinion. Everybody else may see it a little differently. Martel felt like his event was a success, and he had his friends there, and he felt like it made the event even more better because he had his friends there. Let's see. And the guys this was the next morning, and the guys were asking Martel, "Where is Louis?" And he told them, "Hey, Louis had an emergency and he had to leave out earlier." So they went ahead and got on the bus, I guess, and took the ride back to Atlanta. Now, Louis and Tiffany were talking. And I feel like Tiffany is just jugging and jugging and jugging at Louis, trying to get some type of reaction out of him. And it's like he just holds himself together when it comes to Tiffany, because he probably can let loose on her, but he don't want to do it on TV. Well, anyway, they were talking about him being back home, and he say how when he got the bad news that there was a death in Birmingham, where I guess he may be from or his family lives, he felt like he needed to leave Atlanta and immediately come home and be with his wife and his kids, and he was going to go to Birmingham the next day with Tiffany. Now, when he was trying to tell her about the trip, he kept smiling and laughing. And she said, "I know when my husband is lying, because you're doing too much. You don't, laughing and kind of playing it off." Well, he told her that they had a very eventful weekend. He had missed her calls a few times, but they were just really busy. And she was like, "Oh, really?" He said, "Yeah, we had long days and long nights." I say, now he did not have to throw on the long nights part. That just didn't help his situation. He told her about the focus group, and she was like, okay, well, what was the focus group? So he told her the focus group was women, but he was real vague about it. He didn't really come out and say what it was. He kind of talked around it, and I think that didn't sit too well with Tiffany. Let's see. And she said the focal group, I thought it was just gentlemen. He said no, it was women. She said, well, I thought this was a guy's trip. He acted like he couldn't remember what was his commercial pitch because he told her that each guy had to come up with a commercial pitch to try to sell Martel's wine. And then he gonna try to act like he couldn't remember what his was. And we all remember it was pop the bottle and open your legs. He knew he remembered that, but he knew Tiffany wasn't gonna like it. So that's why he really didn't say it. So he told her about the rage room, and he told her that they decided to go there. And at the time, that was the rage he was dealing with, was his sexual frustration. So he just went to work on whatever he was crushing up. Tiffany was being passive aggressive like she always is, and she said a whole lot of nothing the whole time she was sitting up there talking. And his face was like, I hear you, but I'm really not listening to you. That's how his face came across, because by that time, he had laid back on the couch like that, and he looked like he had just totally checked out from what she was talking about. And she pretty much said that she doesn't want to have sex with him. She do it because it's her duty as a wife. I was like, well, damn, that don't sound good. I think more is going to come of this between her and Lewis and all of this sexual stuff they have on. But did anybody notice? I can assume they were at home. I don't know. But there was a lot of baby toys behind her. Now, they have 2 teenage sons. So I wonder, who are all them baby toys for that was behind her head? It just didn't look like something that 2 teenage boys would use, or were they using somebody else's house to tape in? That's what I was thinking. Oh, maybe they running the daycare at the house. I don't know. But I noticed all of those kitty toys right behind her head. So Kimmy and Maurice talked, and he said that they had a good time. She asked if the guys firmed up their comments and stories that they were going to tell about Atlanta. And he said no, what he was going to tell her was the absolute truth. Tisha Marceau, because it tells her that the women were invited and they were the only men there. And so, you know, Tisha's face was like, you know how Tisha can make those faces. Maurice told Kimmy that Martel said Melnica was really male 1.0 and his melody was male 2.0. I think Maurice tried to make her believe that it was something going on between Melnica and Martel prior to him meeting Melody. I didn't really get that, and it could come out later. I don't know. But I think he was just trying to do that to Kimmy to just get a rise out of her. Well, anyway, he said that they went to a strip club. Now, Maurice, you tried to pull a Marceau, and you were wrong for this. But hey, that's your brother, so it could be genetics that y'all do all that bullshit talking. Anyway, Maurice told Kimmy that tapping strippers is not touching. I say, if that don't sound like some bullshit Marceau would say to Tisha and she would buy it. Kimmy looking at him like, that don't work on me, Maurice. He steady saying, if you just tap them, it wasn't a caress. I say, boy, bye. He didn't lie when he said that he was encouraging the fun, because he was, because on the episode before, he was in the strip, I almost said script. Is Miss Wanda jumping on me? Miss Wanda's spirit must be jumping on me, because I said strip club. You know what? I could be so silly. But anyway, I don't want Miss Wanda's spirit jumping on me when it comes to those words. All right now. Anybody else's words can jump on me, but not Miss Wanda's. But anyway, I'm just playing around. He was encouraging all the fun. He just wasn't participating in it. But if he had to tell her that tapping was not touching a stripper, he was doing too much explaining to say he wasn't doing anything. So he was doing a lot more than encouraging. But on the last video, he was encouraging Marcel to do it, Marcel, do it, Marcel. He was all into it. All right, so I'm going to keep it moving. Marceau said that he was not going to be in a sexless marriage. He said if one partner doesn't want it, they need to be okay with it being outsourced. I say, uh-oh, what that mean? What it mean to Tisha? So Tisha better take heed, write that on a sticky note and just tap it right back here and just hold on to that one. Maurice said that girlfriends have more sex, and Kimmy said it's because they are being wooed and they have all the attention. But once they're actually in the relationship and the guy's not wooing the woman as much, then she may not feel like she's receiving his attention, and so some of the desire to have sex may kind of wane a little bit. So we don't know. Marceau did a countdown on what a man has to do outside of the home, because Tisha was saying that women have to do it a lot in the home, and then still be expected to be on ready for her husband. And she kept saying that, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look, I can't even hardly say the wrong words myself. She kept saying, look at that, DAT. I said, uh-oh, Miss Wanda Spirit then jumped on Tisha. Well, anyway, she just kept saying that women have to take care of the home and the men should be more understanding and maybe rub their feet sometime, give them massages sometime, just to get them more mentally ready to be intimate with their husband, because they have a lot going on. Home, they have work, they have the children, and Marceau pretty much just has to work outside of the home. He said he was not telling that old crazy bullshit to his friends. That's what he said, not my words, his. Okay, so Tisha go to a session with Dr. Francis. To me, this was the only part of the show that was interesting. Out of everything else, this was the only part of the show that was interesting. She told him that while she was trying to figure out who is Tisha, she cried, and she slid in that Marceau took a trip to Tanzania by himself. So Dr. Francis was like, he took a trip by himself. She said it was a last minute trip. It was a last minute trip. Once again, she started making excuses for Marceau. So Dr. Francis told her something. He said, you know what? Just because somebody tells you something in the last minute does not mean, no, I'm going to get it right. He said last minute behavior does not mean that it was a last minute thought. Everybody know if you're going to Africa, you have to make plans to go to Africa. You just don't get up today and say, I'm going to take a flight and go to Africa. It doesn't work that way. You have to get shots. You have to do all of these things. You have to plan. There's a lot that goes into it. And Dr. Francis was trying to get her to understand, he's been planning this trip. He just chose, and he didn't want to take you. And she said that she was okay with it. He said, were you really okay with it? And she was like, well, no, not at first. But after he started explaining to me how he needed his time and blah, 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 then I kind of understood it. Right then, he told her that Dr. Francis told Tisha, Marceau is using your acceptance of his behavior, and he's using it against you. He said Marceau depends on her behavior to not have to be accountable, and he do it to her every single time, and she don't catch it. She said only time will tell if Marceau is going to change. She said she's been trying to get Marceau to change. She said only time gonna tell. And he asked her, well, how much time do you really have? She said he told her confrontation is the key to development and growth. She's like, I don't like confrontation. I don't like confrontation. And that's obvious, because she don't, anytime she should be confronting Wanda, she don't. Anytime she should be confronting Marceau, she don't. It's obvious she does not like confrontation, and she will cower and back down and let whoever was doing whatever, let them continue to do it just so she don't have to deal with it. So he then asked her, if she and her husband would like to attend a marriage retreat that he and his wife put on, I guess, every so often, and if she would bring some of her friends. So I guess we're going to film some upcoming episodes that she and her friends and the other couples are going to go on this marriage retreat. Martel has a meal with his mom. I can't remember his mom's name right now, but they look like on a patio. They're having a meal. First, he started off on a barbecue pit that was empty, that was full of smoke, but I'm gonna give him a little room here and say maybe he was just letting the charcoal start smoldering so it can really get hot. So when that smoke go through, it give me the good smoky flavor. Because we did see him put a piece of meat on the pit, but they only showed them eating the salad. But that was a cute bowl. Anyway, he was saying that his uncle, the mother, he mentioned to his mom that the uncle got upset, and the mom said, yes, I heard of what happened. And he said that he didn't think his uncle would cause an uproar at his event. But allegedly, Martel got into a fight at Destiny's event. So how can he get upset with the uncle for acting the way he acted? And the uncle definitely did not do anything remotely close to what Martel allegedly did at Destiny's event. And she said that she would have felt some type of way too, because they all just loved and adored her mom so much. So she didn't go into a lot of detail why she would have felt that way, but she said she can understand where her brother was coming from. Martel then had the nerve to say Sam should have used self-control. Martel, you the last person need to be talking about self-control. The absolute last. No, whoever's the last, you need to go 10 steps behind that person, because you don't have no room to talk about somebody using self-control. You didn't use self-control for the time that you were married to your wife, cheating and then having the baby. So you definitely don't have self-control. Now, when Martel and the crew was in Vegas, twice he lost control and acted goddamn fool. Once when he was in that house arguing with Mel and Marceau had to go in there and pull him off. And then when they were driving them dune buggy cars or whatever they were driving, and they ended up and they all stopped, it was getting kind of dark. Him and Melanie got into an argument, and the men had to hold him back because he looked like he was getting ready to try to go fight Melody. Total lack of control. I say so. Martel got some goddamn nerve. Talk about somebody losing they need to use self-control. Okay, that made me a little warm. So they talked about how much they all loved and adored the mom, and that how much she meant to the family. And I can understand that because I loved my grandmother to death. Marceau said, Martel, I really wish that they wouldn't have so many people on this show with names that begin with M's. That's irritating. Carlos King, on your next show, or if you get any other couples on this show, could you make sure they don't have names with M's? Or they don't all have the same names that start with the same alphabet on your other shows. Thank you. Alrighty. So Martel said that due to his grandmother's death, he didn't try out for the NFL scouts that came to his college. Did anybody else notice that he looked very uncomfortable making that statement? It seems as if somebody told him to say that statement because he looked very uncomfortable saying it. So I don't know if there was anything with that, but that's just what I got from it. Kimmy and Mel meet up at the Poppy and the Parliament restaurant, and they were talking, and I don't know, it's kind of irritating whenever Mel starts talking, she have that little sing-song word. Hi, what's going on? You look so pretty. I don't know why that just doesn't seem very authentic to me, but it may be. But it just, when people talk like that and have that little it just doesn't seem very authentic to me. Alrighty, so they finish all their pleasantries when they sit down, you know, telling each other how cute they are. The outfits look cute. What's been going on? Mel started adding emphasis that every day I wake up, I'm so happy. Every day I wake up, I'm so blessed. I said, I wonder if she's trying to convince herself because of what she went through with Martel. I know that had to be a difficult situation to go through, and she went through it in front of the entire world. But she was saying it like she was really trying to convince somebody else and not herself. So who knows? She may be doing well. She may not be doing well. She may just have to be putting on for the camera just to get through it, because I know that has to be difficult. So they started talking about Martel's event, the ATL trip. So she asked Kimberly. That's how she made it. That's how she addressed her, Kimberly Scott. I think she was trying to throw the Scott out there to say you are married. So here comes the second part of my comment. She said, can you answer a question for me? Kimmy said, yeah, sure. She said, when your husband goes on a trip, goes out of town with Martel, do you feel anything? She was trying to ask Kimberly, do you feel like your husband out there cheating? And Kimberly was like, if I can't trust my husband to go out of town, you know, should we really be together? And she said, well, it's the person that he's going with. And then Kimmy said that she feels like Mel feels that everybody is a cheater. And she was like, Melanie, everybody is not a cheater, but everybody knows what she went through. So maybe she's looking at it through that lens and not through the lens that, hey, everybody's not cheating out here. Mel says she really doesn't know anything about Martel's wine lunch. She heard something, but she doesn't really know any details. And I get the impression because they don't really talk about anything outside of the children. And maybe she just get bits and pieces, maybe from social media, from friends, from whoever. So Kimmy mentioned the situation at the wine tasting with uncle, and initially Mel wasn't sure which uncle it was because Kimberly said she didn't know his name, but Melanie said, oh, you know, maybe it was Uncle Sam. And she said, I'm kind of surprised he got upset because he generally has a very even-tempered, a cool temperament. She said, so it must have been something that really made him upset for this to happen. But that kind of contradicts what Martel said when he was talking to the mom, because he was like, you know, Uncle Sam always getting upset. Yeah, we makes a little bit more Uncle Sam. So Melody asked Kimmy, well, who was his event planner? To me, that question didn't even sound right, because number one, it was Martel's event. Number two, it was in Atlanta. And number three, Kimmy would probably have no knowledge of who Martel is using to handle his business and on a trip out in another state. I think Melody asked that question just so that can be her segue in to say, I know Melnica. Once Kimmy said, oh, it was someone named Melnica. And she just went on to say that she knew Melnica. She and Martel had been friends since elementary school or possibly middle school. And I said that in the other video that it had to be from way back when he said 30 years and he's only like 40. Well, she was like, I know her. She was my wedding planner up until 1 or 2 weeks before my wedding. And Kimmy was like, what? She said, yeah. So I don't know if she got fired or if she quit. But Melody said that she, Martel, and Melnika were on a three-way call together, and then Melnika started telling Martel, "You're a cheater. You've been asking me about my friend who works, not my friend, but my assistant that works in my office." And Martel was on the phone telling her, "Why would you lie like that? That's not true." And Mel honestly said that at 22 years old, she believed her fiance. So Melnika was no longer the wedding planner. She went ahead, as we all know, and married Marteau, God damn it, Martel. And she said that the 22-year-old Melody believed what Martel told her. She said, but the 36-year-old Melody, had she heard that comment on a telephone call, she would take pause and want to find out more about that comment that was made. But that just goes to show, sometime in our youth, we're looking at things through rose-colored glasses, and we don't see people for really who they are. She probably was just running on emotion 2 weeks before her marriage. She was just thinking, I'm going to marry my husband and live happily ever after. So, yeah, she said Melnika was the wedding planner, but when she dropped out, I think she said a week or 2 weeks before, then she said she had to hire Melnika's mother-in-law to finish planning her wedding, and I guess she had paid Melnika some money because she said I didn't get my money back, and then she had to pay the new wedding planner. So I'm sure that more is going to come of this conversation. It's going to probably be on next week's episode. This, what we saw, that little bit was the little package that they showed us last week. So I was like, hell, we already saw this. But anyway, that was the end of Love and Marriage Huntsville. It was really kind of boring. I don't know if anybody else got that, but I thought it was very boring. And I just wish they come on through the season and just get something with a little bit more excitement. Or hell, just maybe all the couples, maybe all their marriages and lives are boring. I don't know. It's all for TV. Well, anyway, excuse me. This is G Butterfly. Thank you for coming to the Watch and Whisper channel. Back, please give my videos a thumbs up. And